What's up, guys? It's your buddy, it's your pal SpazPhoenix, the YWC Reality Check, here with the June 18th Raw Super Show review. Now, last night contributed to my ongoing theory that you guys love me more when I'm pissed off than when I was having a good time, but I did a lot of ranting about No Way Out and the crap that we got on that show. And made me think a little bit, after tonight's show, back to the movie Field of Dreams. In the movie Field of Dreams, what did we learn? If you build it, they will come. And in the YWC and in the wrestling world, if you rant loud enough, they will fix it. Ladies and gentlemen, complete 180 from last night. I loved this Raw. I had a lot of fun, a lot of surprises. It wasn't a 3-hour Raw this week, which is fine by me, because a 3-hour Raw is a lot to review. When the 1000th episode of Raw comes and it's 3 hours every week, I'm going to be exhausted for sure. But we start the show, because we are in Long Island, we start the show with the introduction of Long Island's own Mick Foley. So I immediately mark. Mick Foley comes out in a suit. Interesting. Interesting things always happen when Mick Foley comes out in a suit. You know, for those of you that know your Mick Foley history. Huge Foley chance, obviously, hometown boy, talks about the 1000th episode of Raw, talks about because John Laurinaitis has been fired, the WWE will be using former authority figures in the WWE from now until the 1000th episode, and I'm guessing they're going to introduce a new GM at that point. So because he used to be the commissioner, he's going to be running not only this week's Raw, but this week's SmackDown as well. Announces that we're going to have Kane and Daniel Bryan versus Sheamus and Punk tonight, which is cool. And he says, one thing I do have to introduce is John Laurinaitis to make his final farewell, etc. John Laurinaitis comes out, crutch, sling, collar, the whole 9 yards. Excuse me, guys. Massive, loud, distinctive, you got fired chants, which is great. Waits for the crowd to be quiet. Waits for the crowd to be quiet. Waits for the crowd to be quiet. Foley asks the crowd to be quiet. And then he says, oh, do you really want me to tell Long Island that they suck? And then boos obviously get louder. The crowd pops huge for Foley and doesn't shut up for Ace. Finally, he gets on the microphone, tells the crowd how rude they are, says he's going to make his farewell later tonight after the main event. Because apparently, before he got fired, he set into motion that there would be I can speak, I swear, a handicap match tonight. John Cena versus himself, Otunga, and the Big Show. Tells Mick Foley to have a nice day, whatever. Starts hobbling up the ramp. Now, we didn't know that the match that Foley had announced would be right then and there, but Sheamus makes his way down to the ring and, you know, stares down Laurinaitis as he's making his way up. Then Punk comes out, and Punk is a lot of fun, and he kicks imaginary dust onto Laurinaitis, and then does the whole baseball, you know, you're out of here type thing to him, which is cool, which is fine, whatever. We come back from the break, we've got Punk and Sheamus versus Bryan and Kane. Yes, chance abound for everybody. Bryan and Sheamus lock up. My first thought was, okay, we're starting this match with Bryan and Sheamus, so the match is going to be 18 seconds. Little joke in there for my buddy Dalyxman. Moving on. Huge backbreaker by Sheamus on Kane, which was cool to see. It's cool to see Sheamus do his high-impact stuff on somebody the same size as him, because when he's doing it to like a Punk or a Bryan or somebody like that, they are smaller than him, so it's not quite as effective. Punk and Bryan, as soon as those two go at it, you know how great they are. I know how great they are. I don't need to elaborate. Kane does overpower Punk at one point, but Punk hits a great suicide dive on Daniel Bryan. As I've said before, Bryan and Punk are the only ones in WWE that have any business even trying to do a suicide dive. Moving on. Sheamus owns Kane for a bit. Kane tosses Sheamus out of the ring by the throat, which was a nice looking little spot. Low drop kick on Bryan. A low drop kick from Bryan on Sheamus leads to a barrage of various drop kicks from Bryan to Sheamus, which is great. It has to be said, Sheamus is the only one that was in this match that's really not in this, you know, love square story. So because he's not part of the story, because he's not part of the plot line, he took the majority of the beating tonight. So that was interesting. Superplex on Punk by Bryan. AJ comes out with her own music, which we never actually hear her own music anymore because she doesn't actually have matches as much as she just gets involved in these guys' situation. So we heard her music. Her attire was all black and red, and she came out in a Kane mask, you know, skipping around the ring and then back up the ramp. So Kane follows her. You know, I'm gonna follow the rabbit, Bob, up the ramp, because he's kind of an idiot, and they're booking him like a tard. Leaves. CM Punk laughs his ass off, first of all, which I think is great. GTS and a bro kick from Punk and Sheamus get them the victory. Not a bad little opening match. You know, we have an excuse to see AJ. Sheamus got the crap kicked out of him, and due to my recent opinion turn on Sheamus, that doesn't hurt my feelings one bit. I want to get Kane out of the way. Let Kane and Sheamus go have a rivalry so we can proceed with Punk and Bryan the way it's supposed to be. Side note, this is what I thought, because everybody's saying, because of the following, because of the fan following and the cult, you know, following that Daniel Bryan is starting to get, that eventually they're going to have to turn him face. And CM Punk is already face, so here's my thing. Not that tag team wrestling is anywhere near as big as these guys are, but can you imagine a tag team? Because I've already done it in WWE 12. I did it about 6 months ago. But CM Punk, Daniel Bryan as a tag team managed by Psycho AJ. Just putting it out there. Just putting it out there. We come back from break. Swagger is bugging Ziggler about not getting the job done against Sheamus. Da-da-da-da-da. Ziggler says what everybody that knows what they're talking about has been saying forever. In this tag team, you've been riding my coattails the whole way. Vicky has a temper tantrum and a breakdown and says, I've gone to Foley. He said that I can set up a match between you guys tonight and one of you needs to impress me. Da-da-da-da-da. Ace, Otunga, and Big Show backstage. John Laurinaitis is giving the group a pep talk, but basically looks like he's giving himself a pep talk, which is awesome. Ziggler versus Swagger. Oh, yes. Ziggler doing his cocky show-off thing, frustrates Swagger right off the bat, rides a headlock for a while, and as soon as Swagger counters, he tweaks his knee. The story for the rest of this match is Swagger working over Ziggler's knee, and I don't mind saying that Swagger didn't do a half-bad job of it. Swagger works over the leg. Ziggler tries a small package, gets a near fall. Swagger goes for the ankle lock. It gets reversed. Swagger eats post, and I blink for a second. I'm assuming that there was a famouser or a zigzag or something, but Ziggler does get the win. Swagger leaves, all defeated him, whatever, and Vicky comes into the ring, and him and Vicky kiss and celebrate and all that sort of thing. So here is my thought on this. How do you feel about this match? Because Ziggler didn't get rid of Vicky, but he got rid of Swagger. Now, I would have loved it. Now, this is going to be a little bit of reverse psychology for a second. I would have loved for Swagger to win, keep Vicky on his side, let Ziggler go completely solo and surprise everybody. But we got about halfway to what I want, which is good enough for me. We replay Triple H's challenge to Brock Lesnar to fight at SummerSlam that happened last night at No Way Out. Then Heyman comes out. No, Lesnar will not drop the lawsuit. No, I will not drop my lawsuit. No, Lesnar will not fight Triple H at SummerSlam. Triple H comes out and says, first of all, we're not in a bingo hall. We all know you're a liar. I want Lesnar to be a man for once. I have the power to make Brock Lesnar a star. I liked that a lot. That was good. And for Brock Lesnar, somebody who's so much about ego, he seems to be scared of me. Heyman says, you're just a suit, you've become the corporate guy, you live with your little Princess Stephanie there, and you're just pretending to be the wrestler you used to be. Go ahead and hit me. I don't have anything for you, but I've got something for Stephanie, which I thought was great. Triple H decks him once again, basically says, I will see Brock Lesnar and you at SummerSlam. Good stuff, to be sure. And, oh yes. Oh yes. After the disastrous crime that was the tuxedo match last night at No Way Out between Santino Marella and Ricardo Rodriguez. Oh, yes. Alberto Del Rio makes his comeback. Yes, he does. Against Santino. Santino tries all his typical goofball bullshit, tries for the little salute headbutt thing, misses, eats the mat, great, tries to go for the Cobra, and while he's digging in his tights like an idiot, eats an Enziguri from my boy ADR, oh yes, cross arm breaker, and has him tapping like a bitch in no time flat. Not only that, Alberto Del Rio leaves the ring, Ricardo Rodriguez takes the time to get Santino back up and hit an arm breaker on him. Oh yes. Oh yes, big points for Alberto Del Rio, big points for Ricardo Rodriguez. Santino Marella, go fuck yourself. Moving on. Layla introduces, okay, here we go. This should have been a very cool, very special moment, and I do understand that. It just didn't get the job done in the slightest. Layla comes out, introduces WWE legend Wendy Richter and recording artist Cyndi Lauper, who was a big part of, you know, Wendy Richter's WrestleMania stuff and rock and wrestling and all that stuff that happened like 20 or so years ago. They all start putting each other over. It's all well and good until Heath Slater comes down, talks some crap, says he's going to release his first single right now, does some horrible a cappella karaoke. Piper comes out, greets the ladies, puts over the ladies, does a gold record presentation thing for Cyndi Lauper, which is great, I guess, because apparently she had a gold record 20 years ago, and Piper and Lou Albino broke it in some kind of well-known segment that I don't know about. He does that. Slater interrupts again, tries to sing his single again, gets poked in the eye by Piper, and the record gets smashed over his head. So we represented her with a gold record 20 years later to break it. Although I did see, and they cut the camera off really quickly, I did see some red on Mr. Slater's face, and it wasn't just his hair. So I think they might have botched that. I think they might have actually cut him, and if so, I don't even know what to say. Like I say, this should have been a special moment. You know, if it was an actual presentation thing or an actual appreciation thing, or what I thought it was going to be, which is, you know, that Wendy Richter was going into the Hall of Fame and that Cyndi Lauper were going into the celebrity wing of the Hall of Fame in the 2013 class, I wouldn't have had a problem with that at all. If it was totally joke, and if it was totally meant to just, you know, mock the hell out of Heath Slater, because that's all he's really good for, that's fine too. But you can't do serious appreciation and comedy in the same segment. It just doesn't work. And you could tell, because the crowd wasn't buying this segment at all, and neither was I, I'm sorry to say. I wasn't around during Rock and Wrestling, so it's not like it's a flashback for me. I love seeing Piper, but even Piper wasn't on his top game tonight, so it was just blah. Guys, I don't know what to say. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I gotta be honest, right? Moving on, we replay the end of the Fatal 4-Way Tag match at No Way Out. We see AW screwing over Primo and Epico in favor of the Primetime players. They have a match. Not much to say about this match because it didn't last very long. It was a good, solid, fast-paced match, and when you see... yeah, you see Primo and Epico, they're pretty small. Darren Young's not that big a guy, but Titus O'Neil is a big, jacked up guy. So for him to keep pace with the other three was really, really cool to watch. It's really cool to see two tag teams that actually look like tag teams fighting each other. We're getting back into the old WWE tag team wrestling format. You've got one team versus another team. They happen to both have managers in this case, which is awesome. They look like teams. They have their tag team moves, they have their tandem moves, their double teams and all that all sorted out. I'm sorry, our tag team champions right now, and no disrespect to them because I know R-Truth is off on an injury right now and Kofi Kingston's kind of trying to float the boat on his own. I get that. They're both great guys, but they're a thrown together tag team. And the fact that you have a bunch of other legit tag teams waiting in the wings to hold those belts is really, really unfair, especially when they're not going to be defended because of R-Truth's injury. Just saying. We have the announcement that Jericho is going to be back next week. We show a little clip of him at some... I didn't catch the name of it, but at some rock festival live thing that he... And they also announced the soon release of Fozzie's new album, Sin and Bones, which I may or may not check out. Fozzie's not exactly my cup of tea as far as music goes, but I have a little bit of Fozzie on my iPod, I'm not going to lie. Johnny Ace, David Otunga, and The Big Show versus John Cena starts like this. First of all, Teddy Long's on commentary, so you know life's about to get better. The Big Show comes out, cuts a promo, thanks John Laurinaitis for reinstating him and giving him the ironclad contract, and then basically says, okay, well, you're not the boss anymore, so you can't give me anything anymore. I have my eyes on bigger and better things, and walks off. Oh, yes. Let's go Cena. Cena sucks chance before the match even gets started. John Cena versus Otunga is what you would expect it to be. Cena owns Otunga for a long time. I have a little bit of a bright spot in this match in that Cena bumped his shoulder at one point and, you know, didn't exactly sell it, but kind of fell over and took a beating for a while from Otunga and then popped back up again. Otunga tries to tag into Laurinaitis, and Laurinaitis just short arms him, doesn't tag in. He says, oh, I'm still hurt, I don't think I should tag in just yet, da da da. And as soon as friggin' Cena's been beaten down enough. Laurinaitis sticks his hand in because he just wants the pin and the glory, which is fine. So he gets in there, gets the near fall. Cena kicks out. Laurinaitis goes to tag Otunga back in. Otunga takes a walk on him. Oh, yes. So now we have John Cena versus a very crippled John Laurinaitis. John Laurinaitis tries to act tough, takes off the collar, takes off the sling, throws the crutch away, eats an attitude adjustment. Eats another attitude adjustment. Eats another attitude adjustment. And then the STF gets the win for Cena. And that's how we close the show. You know, Teddy Long is celebrating at the sidelines. Michael Cole's making an ass of himself as usual. Lawler's having a good time. Everybody's happy. Alright, before I spill shit all over the place, score fail and MVP. First score, Foley. I don't care what Mick Foley does at this point. It's just cool to see him on the show. They're in Long Island. Why not have him on the show? Same thing goes for Roddy Piper. Like I say, Roddy Piper wasn't at his best tonight. He wasn't really involved with anybody other than poking Heath Slater in the eye and trying to sound somewhat serious while he talked to the ladies. But it's still cool to see them leading up to the 1000th episode of Raw. We're going to get a lot of this for the next 5 weeks, so we might as well try to enjoy it. AJ Lee coming out as Kane, or as Mrs. Kane, or whatever, and distracting the Big Show. He's not the Big Show, he's Kane. Because I can speak, I swear. Coming out and distracting Kane and dragging him away, furthering my opinion or my prediction or whatever that she is ultimately in the camp of Punk. Punk loves it, and I think that's the greatest part. The sarcastic look on Punk's face every time AJ does something that works out in his favor is phenomenal. The two of them work off each other quite well. Ziggler versus Swagger, like I said, for the most part, he's sort of, you know, put that block of separation between him and Swagger, which is the first step. The second step will be getting rid of Vicky Guerrero eventually. As soon as he sheds Vicky Guerrero, that will be my indicator that he's going for a world title. People are saying Money in the Bank. If he wins Money in the Bank, you won't hear me complain one bit, but I don't think at the stage he's at now, and with the want that people have for him to be champion, he doesn't need Money in the Bank. You can throw him in another world title match next month for some reason, you know, do some writing around it and whatever, and people would have no problem with him winning straight up. I don't think he has to use the heel tactic of cashing in Money in the Bank, because Money in the Bank is a very, very heel, cheap heat, fluke way to win the title, and I don't think at this point that Ziggler needs that. Now, that being said, do I want to see him in Money in the Bank to see what he can do? Abso-fucking-lutely. If he has the briefcase, it's just one more thing for him to show off. So, ultimately, do I want to see him win Money in the Bank? Sure. If he doesn't, will my feelings be hurt? No. So that's what I'm going to say about that. Triple H and Heyman's promo. Heyman on the mic. What can I say? Paul Heyman, there's a reason they gave Paul Heyman to Brock Lesnar. Like, Lesnar sucks on the mic, and Heyman more than makes up for it. And Heyman also more than makes up for the fact that Brock Lesnar's not actually there, just, you know, sitting at home, getting a paycheck, doing whatever he's doing. Heyman catching the brunt of all of Triple H's frustrations, and Triple H not making any actual contact with Brock Lesnar leading up to this match actually lends an intriguing element to that match, which I'm going to say right now, guys, you know it's not going to be a straight-up match. It's going to be, you know, Extreme Rules, anything goes, Hell in a Cell, cage match, some kind of not normal match. Highlight of the night for me. Highlight of the night for me. Alberto Del Rio versus San Goofball Morella, getting the win, not only convincingly, but by submission no less. Santino Morella, get on your knees and get ready to hand that belt to Alberto Del Rio. That's all I'm saying. And when you do, be sure to tip Ricardo. He'll be here all week. Anyways, the tag team division in general, like I've said before, the tag team division is starting to look good again. I don't want to say the tag team division's awesome again, because we're not. We're taking little, you know, baby steps towards having a great tag team division again, and I have to acknowledge it because it gets better every week. Next week, we have Chris Jericho returning. I don't know if he can, but if he can, I want him to cut the most ridiculous Jericho promo on the reason he got suspended. Ever. Because it is so much crap. I did a video a little while ago when I found it saying I don't really know how to feel about it, and I don't really know this and that. I can't really blame the Brazilian people, and I can't really blame the WWE. Ultimately, it's crap. I've changed my mind. It's crap. I'm sorry. A fan threw the flag into the ring. That was fine. You know, Punk used it to get face heat. That was fine. You know, Jericho healed up on it, and all of a sudden he's an asshole. I'm sorry. I have all the respect for people and their national pride and whatever, but let me tell you something. If you throw a flag into a wrestling ring, I'm sorry, it's a prop first and a flag second as soon as it hits that ring canvas. Get it through your head. This suspension was bullshit. Moving on. Jericho's return. I hope he cuts a promo on why he was let go. I hope he heals it up more than anything else. I hope he goes for some sort of authority figure. I hope he goes for, you know, it doesn't even really make much sense because Teddy Long wouldn't have been the one to make the decision, but I hope he just fucking goes and kicks the crap out of Teddy Long or something ridiculous like that. Kind of a funny sort of score for me. John Laurinaitis' People Power jumpsuit from Over the Limit with the, you know, the People Power logo on the back and the WWE logo and the SmackDown logo on one pant cuff and, you know, the Raw logo on the other pant cuff. It's so funny and egotistical. It's like the perfect thing for a heel authority figure. Anyways, fail. And I don't have a lot of fails because, like I said, I had a lot of fun with the show, but I do have to say something. Now, the Golden Team won the opening match, and what I mean by that is this. Punk and Sheamus, whether we like it or not, are our two champions. So yes, for them to look dominant does make sense, but for them to win every match that they're in, for them to go over, you know, universally over everybody else and over every tag team situation, every situation that doesn't involve one-on-one with potential number one contenders, when they do a tag situation like this, it's like, okay, you can defeat these guys. So anytime they get a title shot, why should I care? They should be giving the heels victories that don't endanger the title to make them look strong in their chase for the titles. I'm a fan of Punk. Like I say, my opinion of Sheamus is dropped, but he's still the champion, and he's doing what they need him to do as a champion, being the Ginger John Cena on SmackDown. So to take nothing away from CM Punk, I love CM Punk, I love the way he wins, etc. But you need to do something in these situations that don't directly affect the title, like tag team or triple threat or whatever. You need to have the heels or the number one contenders, whoever they are, get some steam so that by the next pay-per-view I can believe that whoever the number one contender is has a shot at actually winning. Moving on. Like I said, the retro segment with sorry guys, with Piper and Lauper and Richter and all that, I know what it was supposed to do. So I really do feel bad, but it just didn't get the job done for me. I didn't feel it, and I didn't laugh, so it didn't win on either end of the spectrum, if you get what I mean. The main event. And when I say the main event, I don't mean the main event of this show. I mean John Cena, the main event. Now, he's supposed to be the face of the company. He's supposed to be the main event of the company. Now, when the main event of the company consists of a horribly, horribly booked Extreme Rules match against Brock Lesnar, where he's Superman to victory in 5 seconds, and shut up, I'm doing a video. Haven't gotten to do that in a long time, actually, which is kind of cool. Then he beat up his boss. Then he beat up Michael Cole and stripped him and covered him in barbecue sauce. And then he, you know, with the help of 7 other people, beat the Big Show, which he's done a million times. And then tonight, after Laurinaitis had his 2 partners walk out on him, he beat up his boss again. What has he done? I'll give you WrestleMania. If I'm in a really, really good mood, I'll give you Extreme Rules. What has he done to maintain his number one status in the company? He's literally doing nothing. 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 Vince McMahon came back for one pay-per-view just to remind us that John Cena is his golden boy, and he's still doing nothing. Moving on. What did the Fave 5 do this week? Punk won the tag match. Punk's still got that amazing connection with AJ, which I'm having a lot of fun with. Orton is still suspended, which is bullshit. Ziggler won his match and I guess won Vicky. It's not much of a trophy, but he got rid of Swagger, which is good. Rhodes wasn't on the show. Miz is off being a Marine. score for him. MVP of the night, and this is where I'm going to say MVP and a half, just because they defanged and devenomed the Cobra. Alberto Del Rio, the returning, triumphant Alberto Del Rio, and his sidekick Ricardo Rodriguez. The first time I've ever had an MVP and a half. Oh yes. And let me say it loudly, let me say it proudly. Santino Marella, get that belt nice and shiny, buddy. Go fuck yourself, hand it over to Del Rio, hand yourself over to the unemployment line, and everybody will be better off. Oh, yes. I've been Spaz, your YWC reality check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep this conversation going, let me know what you think. Don't be a stranger, and I will talk to each and every last one of you later. Right now, I'm tagging out, guys. I'll see you later. Bye.
Get up,